Hey guys, what's going on? You're watching T-Bones Tech, and in this video, we are going to talk about how to shoot professional video with the Canon T7i. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about is video stabilization. It doesn't matter how expensive your camera is, if your video is not stabilized properly, you're going to end up with unusable footage. So the most important thing when taking high quality video, of course, is going to be image stabilization. Now, the reason why the video that you're watching right now is extremely stable is because it's actually sitting on top of a Manfrotto video tripod. I'm actually going to turn this Canon T7i on right now, and I'm going to show you guys what we are looking at. And this is the tripod that it is sitting on right now. And as you guys can see, this tripod is extremely stable, it's not moving at all, and it's also able to take very smooth pans and tilts. And that's because it has a fluid head. However, a tripod like this is going to cost you upwards of $900. Now, most likely if you bought the Canon T7i, you probably don't have the budget or don't want to spend $900 just on a video tripod. So if you don't want to spend the money on that, I definitely recommend picking one of these up. Now, this is a monopod, and as you guys can see, it's actually standing on its own right now without me touching it at all. And you can actually pick one of these up on Amazon for around $240. I will leave a link in the description down below to this exact monopod. I'll also leave a link in the description down below to this tripod if you guys want to check it out. This monopod is actually much easier to use than a full tripod because instead of 3 legs, you only have to deal with 1. So adjusting the height on this is extremely easy. You can easily move it up and down and then just simply lock it in place and you're ready to go. This monopod is absolutely fantastic. As you guys can see right now, I can do a really smooth pan here, and then I can also do a very smooth tilt. Using this as a video stabilizer is going to allow you to get absolutely insane shots, and it's going to make a huge difference in your video production. Now, the other thing that's going to make a huge difference in your video production is going to be using a shotgun microphone on top of your camera, because the built-in microphones on the Canon T7i are not great. So I'm going to take this Rode VideoMic Pro that I have on top of my Canon 80D that I'm filming the video on right now, plug it into this Canon T7i. The Canon 80D has pretty much the exact same microphones as the Canon T7i, so expect the audio on your Canon T7i to sound pretty much just like this. So this is what your camera is going to look like with a Rode VideoMic Pro on top. It just screws into the hot shoe right here and then just plugs straight into the microphone in on your Canon T7i. Now that we got all the accessories out of the way, we're going to be jumping straight into this Canon T7i's body and showing you the best settings for video. The autofocus system is amazing, but whenever there is a subject that we can directly control, we're normally going to want to shoot it in manual focus. Now, that is not because the T7i is bad at autofocusing, it's just because I'm better at focusing than the camera is. Now, if the subject is moving towards you and away from you, then you might want to pop it in automatic focus mode, and it's going to be very good. But if we're in a situation where we can control the subjects, then we're going to want to manually control the focus. So we're going to put this camera into MF mode on the lens, and now we can manually focus the lens. A mistake that unfortunately a lot of people make when trying to manually focus their video is they just look at the LCD display and then they grab the focus ring here and then try to bring the subject into key focus just from the LCD display without any magnification. So just looking at our small LCD display here, it looks like our subject is in key focus. However, it is actually not. So to check our focus, we are going to hit this magnifying glass once, and then we're going to tap our subject here, and then we're going to tap it again, and we're going to zoom in 10 times. And as we can see with 10 times zoom, our subject is definitely not in focus. So we're going to grab the focus ring and we're going to bring our subject into tack sharp focus. In that we can tell that our scene, even zoomed 10 times in, looks extremely sharp, and that means that our end video is going to look much better than if we had just manually focused by not zooming in at all. Now, another way we can improve our video here is by shooting at low ISOs. The lower the ISO number, the better your overall video quality is going to be and the less noise you are going to have. So to get the best video quality, of course, we always want to shoot at ISO 100 if possible, but ISOs 200, 400, and 800 are the highest ISOs I would want to use and still get sharp video. Of course, there are going to be some scenarios where you're going to have to use ISOs over 800, and the Canon T7i is still going to do a good job. Just don't expect to get extremely sharp video with using anything less than ISO 800 on this Canon T7i. So here is a sample video. This video was shot at ISO 6400, and we're going to pause the screen here to take a look at all of this noise. Up in the top left corner is probably where there's the most noise, because that is a high contrast area where the sun was shining on the top of the car. Now, the higher your ISO, the higher your noise is going to be, like I said earlier, and that's because you are increasing your sensor sensitivity to light. So with your sensor sensitivity to light increased, your sensor is making a lot more inaccurate guesses to what each individual color is. And that's what gives you noise, and that's the issue of shooting any camera at higher ISOs. Now, another crucial element in video is going to be shutter speed. Right now we are shooting at 1/60th of a second shutter speed, and that is going to make subjects that are moving fast blurry. So I'm going to do a quick pan here and show you the difference between using a fast shutter speed and a slow shutter speed. So right now, like I said, we're using 1/60th of a second shutter speed, and I'm going to record a quick pan of the camera. So I'm just going to hit record here, and I'm just going to move the camera like this. And right in the middle of my pan, I'm going to pause the screen just like this. So as you guys can see from this, when panning fast or when a subject is moving fast and you pause the screen, they are going to be blurry. So I'm going to show you guys now how you can fix that with using a faster shutter speed. So now we are going to be using a 1/500th shutter speed. We're still shooting this at f4, but because we are using a faster shutter speed, that means less light is going to be allowed into the sensor. So unfortunately, we had to increase our ISO, making our video more noisy. But because we are in a studio environment and I don't have too much daylight to work with, that will have to do. So now we are going to record the same type of video that we did before. So we're just going to hit record, and then we're going to fastly pan over just like that. And I'm going to pause the screen right in the middle, and as you guys can see, it is much more crisp and clear than it was in the other shot. So that's how shutter speed is going to affect your video. Now moving on to aperture. Using a lower f number is going to give you a bigger aperture, and using a higher f number is going to give you a smaller aperture. So a bigger aperture is going to let more light into our camera's sensor, thus making it brighter. But using a slower f number, such as f8, it's going to give you a smaller aperture, thus making the scene darker. So if you want to make the scene brighter, use a faster f-stop, and if you want to make the scene darker, use a slower f-stop. However, aperture also can control your camera's depth of field. Using a lower f number is going to give you a more shallow depth of field. So for this example, we can see our Canon T6i is tack sharp. However, our Smoothie King is not. So if we want a deeper depth of field, we're going to stop down the aperture. So I put ISO on auto, so it's going to adjust the exposure for us. And I'm going to stop this scene down to f8. And as you guys can see, at f8, the Smoothie King already becomes much more clear. And if we stop it down even more, it's going to become even more clear. Now, very quickly, we are just going to talk about movie recording size. The T7i is actually able to shoot full 1920 by 1080p at 60 frames per second, which is going to be great for sports video if you don't want your subjects to be blurry. And it's also going to be great if you want to do some nice and smooth pans and then slow down the footage 50%, and then you actually still be able to export that video in 30 frames per second and not lose a single frame. But if you're not shooting sports and you don't want to slow down your footage, then you probably should shoot here at 30 frames a second. This is handheld footage shot at 30 frames per second, and as you guys can see, it is pretty jittery and isn't very smooth, and it's probably because I was shooting at 100mm and it was handheld video. So over here is the exact same video, except it was shot at 60 frames per second, and then it was slowed down 50%, and now it's playing back in full 30 frames per second, and as you guys can see, it is much more smooth. Picture style does make a difference. So you're just going to hit menu, and then we're going to go over to the 3 over here, and we're going to select picture style. Now here is the user default one, which I have customized. So we're going to go into that and I'm going to show you the settings that I use for my video. I definitely recommend putting these exact settings in your camera and shooting almost all your video in it. This is what controls our in-camera color correction. And we want to shoot it right rather than shooting it wrong and then going in post and trying to edit it. It's much better to just get your settings right in camera. Now you can mess around with these settings and find out what's best for you. But these settings are by far the best that I've ever used for the type of video that I shoot. So definitely play around with that and find what you guys like best. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, definitely make sure to give this video a big thumbs up down below as always. And of course, make sure to subscribe to this channel and then be notified when I release new videos just like this one. I'm currently giving away a Canon T7i to one lucky viewer. So if you guys haven't entered into that, make sure to check that video out. That's all I got for you guys in this video, and I'll catch you all in the next one.